Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you're watching. The channel's called Ratchet. My name's Andrew, and on this episode, I changed the colour scheme of the car. Run the title. Welcome to the channel if you're new. If you're not, thank you for tuning back in for yet another episode. On this one, it's a good one. I'm trying to stand like I am so I don't give away the end game. I mix up and change the colour scheme on the car to something wildly different to what it was beforehand, so stay tuned for that one. I also cover off a load of other little bits and pieces that I've been working on. Some you may or may not see in the background, but I will get to those in due course. If you haven't done so already, make sure you hit that subscribe button. It helps the channel grow and just be more visible to anyone else that might have an interest in this project. Leave me a comment below. Always really do appreciate reading what you guys think about the build and any advice and guidance that you have to offer. I think that is about the lot. Still making sure I'm covering up everything I need to. Let's get on with the episode. So the reason I'm changing the colour scheme now is actually due to an issue that reared its ugly face soon after the car was painted. During assembly, even before it was back on the road, I started to notice some very fine cracks around the new fuel filler cap apertures that I'd formed. Wanted to push ahead with the rest of the build, put them to one side and then deal with them at a later stage. Well, that time has come, the cracks had got worse, so I needed to get to the bottom of what was going on, get the issue remediated and come up with a plan to get the car looking the best it possibly could again. So to uncover the root cause, I first got out the small air grinder to grind off all of the black paint to the underside of the front clam to try and expose the fiberglass underside to suss out what had gone wrong and how I needed to deal with putting it right and making this solid so this would never happen again. So now the dust has settled, let me show you what the underside of the clam looks like. So here you can see I've ground away all of the old paintwork to expose the underside of the clam and the original fiberglass work. And you can see pretty obviously that I just didn't reinforce the area around this cap well enough once I chopped it around, you know, where I sucked it in around the actual filler cap. I should have reinforced all around the perimeter with a couple of layers of matting. Now, it was done such a long time ago, whether I forgot, whether I didn't think it was necessary or what, you know, I'm obviously now in the situation that I am, feeling the pain, but back then, I don't know why I didn't take that belt and braces approach and reinforce these areas with matting as I should have. So, you know, we are where we are, and this has been, yeah, a painful realisation and learning curve. So over on the bench there, I've got my fiberglass in bits and pieces, so I'm going to get some matting chopped up and ready to go. And yeah, just give this perimeter around the filler caps the 2 layers of matting that it always should have had. So hopefully on both sides, that's going to give it the reinforcement necessary for these cracks never to reappear. Nothing you've not seen before. I'll put on 4 layers of fiberglass matting to make the underside pretty robust. Just working my way methodically through the layers, wetting them out plenty, making sure there's no air pockets. Once that was all hardened, I then got onto grinding out the front face of the clam, feathering down to the cracks and feathering out the filler work so I could then lay in some fiberglass paste to further reinforce that area. And then with some 40 grit on a mini DA sander, taking that down in preparation for filler. So you'll be pleased to know that the work has jumped on a few stages since that last portion of the video. I basically just knuckled down and got the fillering work complete, and then got a couple of coats of high build primer onto the front clam. It's just tedious work, so I just wanted to focus on getting it done as quick as possible and to the best of my ability. So let me show you how it's sitting now. So here you can see all of the damage around the filler cap on the passenger side has been repaired. I have got the stripe semi-set out. I think what I should do is jump in here and just explain that I wanted to keep with the driver identification stripe, but I needed to incorporate it into this works. And then just set about with some fine line masking tape, just playing around with ideas to try and find a cohesive design that worked. I didn't want this to stick out like a sore thumb. I'd considered possibly the Essex wire decal to the top of the clam that I'm sure some of you are aware of, but again, it just didn't sit right for me. So I've come up with this idea, and bear with me if you don't buy into the actual colour scheme or the design of it, because I hope that you'll see how well this does work in the end. There was an additional crack that I noticed on the front clam, so I've taken care of that as well. On the other side, things have progressed slightly more than the other side. So again, I've got the same stage of filler, and yeah, there was another crack in the corner. Now I'm pretty sure, let me spin this camera back round. So last summer I was at a car show, a kit car show, and I had all of the car open, the front clam up, rear clam doors, the whole lot. And someone actually walked past the car and knocked the front clam, which sent it absolutely smashing down. Now, if it caused these couple of cracks in the corners of the front clam, then I wouldn't be surprised, because it went down with an almighty crash. So I think I am repairing some of that damage on top of the damage around the filler cap. So it's good that I'm getting it all addressed now. So hopefully I'm going to end up with the result I'm happy with in the end. So let's get back round onto the car. Yeah, so that is the reason for the repair that you can see just there. And what I am having to do, oh, there was a chip of paint just there. Now you can see that I have blown it in with some of the green paint. Now this needs to be blended in with some wet and dry in preparation for lacquering the whole back corner of the car. So coming back round to the passenger side, keep up, there was some damage to the back edge of the clam running round there. So what I'm actually going to do is mask off and spray that lip that you can see there in green. Likewise, where I've had to address some damage here, I'm going to, again, mask off, spray some green, then blend it into the whole paintwork, mask off for the stripe finally, get the colour down that I've chosen, which I may have talked about already, or I might not have, depending how this video pans out. And finally, once all the colour's down, then lacquer the whole lot. So that would then cover the green patches at the back side, or the smart repairs, call them what you want, and then protect the new side stripe. So plenty still to be getting on with, and it's just waiting for paint to harden and things like that. So I will crack on and check back in with you when there's something decent to show you. For those of you that have been following along for, I don't know, the last 6 months or so, you may remember that I've been battling with a really awkward mystery oil leak from the front of the engine. Now, it was something that reared its head when I had the car rolling road set up, and the dyno tuner initially sort of sowed the seed to say it might be the front main seal, as they are common to leak on these 302s. But initially I thought it was a sump gasket. So dropped the sump off, fitted a new sump gasket, got everything back together. That still didn't cure the leak. So I then turned my attention to the front main seal, stripped off all of the timing cover, water pump, etc. Changed the front main seal because it presses in from the backside on the age of this engine. Got everything rebuilt. Guess what? Still leaked. So by this time, I'm now on 2 sump gaskets because I damaged the first replacement one when I was taking the timing covers off. So I needed to investigate further, and I wanted to check all of the work that I'd done up until this point. So sump off again, all of the water pump and timing covers off again. So now we're on sump gasket number 3 and timing cover gasket set number 2. On putting everything back together, in a moment of just absolute, it was more despair, revelation, shock, you know. It was just one of those moments where I finally discovered where that leak was coming from. And the only other spot at the front of the engine that I didn't even think about because the parts are on the bench was the dipstick tube. Yeah, that's it. I rolled my eyes, shook my head, and just wondered what on earth I'd been playing at. Got the engine back together for the 3rd time, put a small bead of gasket sealant around the dipstick tube, got that into place and locked down, ran the engine up to temperature, and it stayed completely leak-free. It has been a painful lesson in check the simple things first. In my defence, it was covered by wires and hoses and goodness knows what else, and I could never get right at the angle just to see. And I'd removed the dipstick tube anyway when I was pulling the timing covers off. I can make any excuse I want to, but you know, this is the end of the story. I finally have a fluid tight engine, and I'm very happy, although still slightly annoyed at the amount of money I've wasted on gaskets and sealants. So there you have it. Let's get on to something else. I'm basically at the point of no return. The driver's side is ready for paint. All of the edges have been fine-tuned. I've got everything masked up. The panel itself has been given a final wet and dry. I've not yet wiped it down with panel wipe and tack cloth, but you can see here, this is basically it, ready to go. I'm still waiting for the paint to harden on the passenger side, so I've not really progressed that so much, but I have pushed on with this. So there we go. I am going to get masked up and spray some paint. So fingers crossed, everything works out as I need it to. I wasn't quite sure how I wanted to do this, whether I wanted to save the colour reveal right until the end, you know, try and bait you along so you held on for as long as possible, but I thought, no, let's show you up front on the colour that I'd chosen. So this is RAL 1004. It's a very deep yellow. It goes along with the rest of the colour scheme, you know, nothing bright, everything's slightly muted to keep in with that sort of retro feel. So here you can see here, after an initial guide coat, this is the second coat that you can see going on, and then finally through to coats, I think 3 and 4 to give full coverage. The paint laid down beautifully, just a rattle can, and I'm very pleased with the colour and also, like I say, how it actually laid down. Unmasking, as you can imagine, is enormously satisfying, getting to see the rewards of the hard, time-consuming work that's gone in. And yeah, I'm pleased to say that it did pan out as I'd envisaged. The colour contrast between the yellow and the green is everything that I hoped for. So it shaped up really, really nicely. While I'm waiting for the paint to fully harden before I can wet sand it, I needed a little project to keep me occupied so I didn't try and attack this paint too early. And it got me thinking that Behind the passenger seat, I always kept a little tool bag of essentials just in case something should happen. Screwdrivers, certain sets of spanners, you know, that sort of thing, a usual little travel toolkit. But I wanted to do something slightly nicer and a bit more fitted. Don't expect too much because this is quite a simplistic solution, but I think something that works well with the car itself. So I picked myself up a small leather travel bag which fitted all of the necessary tools that I do need. And I turned my attention to where I could nicely fit it because I wanted to integrate it into the car somewhere. Now, I'm not saying I took inspiration from the old Ferrari toolkits or the Mercedes Goldwing toolkits because they are on another level, but I just wanted to bring something a little extra to this car, you know, that continual evolution that I always bang on about. So what I've come up with is this, I think, a fairly neat solution. So here's the leather tool bag. I have made up a aluminium frame for it to sit in, a small little cradle for it to sit in. And then it's just held into place with a very simple Velcro strap. Now, for all of you people that may be questioning my choice of that, I could have possibly gone for a leather belt to keep it really traditional, but Velcro was in existence in the early 60s, you know, when this car is loosely sort of based around that time period. So it is all in keeping with the era. So very simply, it can be released from the front there. I did make up some very easy clasps, and then that allows me to take out the toolkit, and in there you'll then see that I have absolutely everything necessary. Spanners, lock wire, clamps, grips, all sorts. And here you can see there's just a secondary bracket on the back holding the strap at the back there. So really easy project, something nice and simple, but like I say, it's just something else that keeps adding to the car and hopefully not, you know, adding too much, just keeping it nice and classy. So yeah, nice little easy project just to keep idle fingers busy. So a few days have passed now since I sprayed the yellow and the paint is nice and hard. I flatted it back with some 1200 wet and dry in ready for the lacquer top coat. And here you can see the car finally masked up with the green exposed, which, as I previously covered, all of that is getting re-lacquered as well. So get everything wiped down, tack clothed, and a good couple of coats of lacquer to hopefully get this thing finished up. I know after that I need to then let the lacquer harden so I can then flatten polish, but you know, we're one step closer and this will be a big step.
One eternity later.
So there you go. The car's now got yellow stripes. I'd be really interested to know what you think about it in the comments below. Personally, I think I love it more than I did the red stripe. It just adds such a different dimension and a different feel to the car. It's something that I'm really looking forward to getting out and about in this summer, which leads me on to what I need to do next. I need to have the annual roadworthiness test carried out on the car so I can legally drive the car here in the UK. Once that's done, fingers crossed for some decent weather so I can get out and about and rack up hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of miles, all being well, in the car this year. So up until the next episode, I'll catch you next time.